My name is Kithinji Njoka. I'm the Assistant Secretary for the Construction Managers, Project Managers chapter in the Architectural Association of Kenya. And today we're going to be talking about fire. There's the fire bit of which is we are going to focus on remedial, what to do immediately a fire occurs and the remedial measures thereafter. So we'll start with domestic fires. So domestic fires are any fires that happen in your home. And then we have commercial or higher industrial fires, which would happen in your office or a very industrialized zone. But for today, let's focus on domestic fires, which is likely to affect a huge chunk of people. So if this happens in your home, call and shout for help, call for assistance, dial emergency numbers that are provided, and seek to extinguish the fire. Now, how do we extinguish fire? If we do not know the cause of a fire, the safest way is to use a CO2 extinguisher. So CO2 extinguishers are usually black in color. I'm sure you'll be shown how they look like. There's CO2 fire extinguishers, there's powder extinguishers, and there are water fire extinguishers. Do not use water to cover or to put out fires caused by oils. So this is when you're cooking and you are frying something, a fire started, because that ends up spreading the fire. If you do not have a CO2 extinguisher, use blankets, wet your blankets and throw over the fire, or use sand or soil. At least that will extinguish the fire. If you're unable to contain the fire, evacuate immediately. This means alert people around you. If you have neighbors, if you live in apartments, shout for help. Alert all your neighbors and evacuate as many people as possible. Seek to see if anyone has an extinguisher that is accessible. If no one does, and your safety is paramount. So your safety means account for people who are in your household and people who are your neighbors, and ensure as many people as possible evacuate. Now, because fire is a very big topic, there are many dynamics to it. We'll just have an overview of what to do in domestic case fires. Once you've evacuated, you should all consolidate at the fire assembly point. So normally a lot of people do not take note of this, but when you go home, take note of the open areas that are within your compound or within a premises. Normally they are demarcated in green signage and are written fire assembly points. These ones should be a safe distance away from your houses and households, and it is a place where you need to go to so that we are able to account, one is able to account for how many people have been evacuated, if all. That is usually a good starting point, and it's a point for safe evacuation thereafter. Now, we are just talking about ideal situations. We know that in our country, there are people who do not necessarily adhere to all these codes, so these are ideal situations that we are representing. But now to talk about how do we address fire from a building constructing point of view to the point where we ensure that we have as little incidences as possible. And to talk about that, we need to start with both the professionals and the building users. Culture. So culture of how do we treat fire incidences? Do we treat them as small issues? Do we just pour a fire over everything? Do we actually take time to learn what are the causes of fire? How do you mitigate against fire incidences? How do we practice security? Small ways. As designers, let's ensure that whatever property you're designing, whether it's a small residential home, commercial apartments, whatever, that someone can have access in case of an emergency. So by access, I mean, are your gates wide enough to allow fire trucks to come in? In case you require an ambulance, is your estate accessible? Is your domestic premises accessible? Things like that. In case of a fire, how easy is it to evacuate people? Are your doors swinging outward? Are your doors swinging inward? What are the materials you use during construction? Do you use gloss paint everywhere when you could use alternatives such as silk paint? Do you collect your trash regularly? It is small habits like this which form culture. A good instance I'd give you is, I've noticed in a lot of commercial properties, because of security, unfortunately, you will find people lock fire escape doors, which is extremely dangerous. So you need to ensure that fire escape doors are easily accessible. They always are clear. There is always movement. There's always someone checking. Are the doors functioning? Are your alarm systems functioning? Is your fire assembly point clear? Is trash collected every day? Because these are the things that exacerbate even small fires and make them grow. From the design, that's from the design perspective. From people and culture perspective, we also hope that people research more on what are the causes of fire. When you go to petrol stations to fuel, do you use your mobile phone? Do you know what the sand pits, what the sands in buckets around your petrol station attendants are? Those are for turning out fires. Do you switch off your engine when you're fueling your car? When you carry paraffin, do you do you carry it in a protective casing, in a proper, or do you carry it in a paper bag? We've even seen incidences where people find fuel trucks having gotten accidents and they try and siphon out fuel. That's a very dangerous habits, and this is part of culture. And we see that in more advanced economies, also because of the fatalities that have arisen because of weather and natural calamities, they take fire a lot more seriously because they have wildfires and bushfires. And with climate change, it is a big reality to us. With droughts and crazy rains and lightning and thunderstorms, we need to prioritize how we handle fire and fire incidences. Thank you.